Hi everyone, this is Professor Hall, and today we're going to talk about transitions. This is one of a short series of videos about transitions. I wanted to kind of break it up into smaller bite-sized bits for you guys. Some of my lectures are a little bit longer. So part one, this is on the left here, a list of transition words, and that is what we're going to explore today. Transition words, which are sometimes called linking words or signposts. So let's get started. What is coherence? Here on the right, we see a little diagram of a typical 5-paragraph essay. So you start with your introduction, you have 3 body paragraphs, and then you have a conclusion. That's a pretty typical pattern taught in high school and sometimes in college as well. So coherence basically means that your paragraphs are logically organized. And having an introduction at the beginning and a conclusion at the end is one part of that. Another part is making sure that the topics, your main ideas, are in a logical order. So if you're telling something in sequence, that you have the beginning, the middle, and then the end. If you have an argument, that you have your strongest point first. Maybe you end with your second strongest point. Maybe you bury the weaker points in the middle. I find that a lot of times students have great ideas, but sometimes these ideas come out all at once. This is particularly true if you are writing a narrative essay, a personal story, something that happened to you. Your thoughts might make sense to you, the writer, but the reader has a difficult time following because of the organization. And they might also have a difficult time seeing how ideas are connected. So having good coherence means that you organize your ideas in a way that is easy to understand and follow. And this is connected to a second idea called cohesion. So what is cohesion? I love this picture of one person talking and the other person listening, and them having the same idea, being on the same page. Cohesion means sticking together. So a paper with good cohesion properly shows the relationships, the links, and the connections between parts of sentences, and paragraphs. So the first step, coherence, logical order. The second step, cohesion, links between those ideas. Together, these two concepts mean that you have an essay that's organized well, it flows logically from one point to the next, and it makes interesting connections and logical connections too between ideas. And one of the ways to do this is to use transitions. So, what is a transition? Here again, we have another list. Transition words, you're emphasizing something, you're adding something, you're showing a contrast, you're showing an order. There's a lot of different categories of this. You can see even I cut this picture off just for space. But the dictionary defines a transition as the process or period of changing from one state or condition to another. And in writing, we use this word a little bit differently. In writing, a transition word is basically the word that helps us to link our thoughts and ideas and to organize our thoughts or ideas while we are, in this process of changing. So while we change from one point to the next, a transition word helps to connect those ideas. Sometimes this can be just a word. Sometimes it can be a phrase, that means a group of words, and sometimes it can be a sentence, maybe even 2, that helps to move from one idea to the next and helps us to organize our thoughts. As a result, transitions can assist a writer to have good coherence, organization, and good cohesion, ideas sticking together. So, why do we need transitions as readers? I kind of mentioned most of these already, but just to go over this again, they help smooth out your essay. Sometimes people, we're going to talk about transitional phrases and sentences, as I said, next time. Without any transitions, a story or an essay is very disconnected and choppy. So transitions help you smooth out your essay if you have a tendency to kind of jump from one point to the next. You can also use transitions like signposts to show your reader what direction you're taking. So, here we have words of contrast, right? Am I going to contrast two things in a disfavorable way? Am I going to compare them and show more of their similarities? Am I going to show more of their differences? Am I going to make a favorable comparison? Your reader needs to know, are you going northeast, south, or west? And a transition can help with that. So they help your readers to stay on course and mentally connect the ideas you're writing about. This is going to be particularly important if you are writing an argument, because you're going to use transitions to connect back to your thesis statement, to prove your claim or your main point. And you're also going to use transitions to help prove points. So you're going to say things like as a result and therefore. So that is our last thing. Yes, they help to link your body paragraph back to your thesis, and again, helping to organize your thoughts. So what kinds of transitions should you use? I am going to give you, if you're in my class, I'm going to give you a couple resources that have a list of transitions. If you're not in my class, this is part of the list from the OWL at Purdue. That's OWL stands for Online Writing Lab. And I'll try to make a link for that in the description of this video or in the comments. So when people first look at this list, they have a tendency to just grab a word and to say, okay, my teacher said I should use transitions. I'm going to put transitions in. But it's very important that you don't just pick any word from the list. You need to think about why you want that word, and it needs to be a logical choice. So, for example, are you adding a point? If you're not, you don't want to say something like in addition. Are you comparing two things or showing the contrast between two things? Are you trying to show time or sequence? Are you giving an example? We're going to look at a paragraph without any transitions. Then we're going to use the wrong types of transitions, and we'll talk about that, and then we'll fix it. So let's take a look. So here's our short paragraph with no transitions. Mark had his first date with Catherine. They went to dinner and a movie. Mark tried to kiss Catherine. She slapped him. They drove home in silence. So there are a lot of details missing here. We don't know precisely why she slapped him if she agreed to go on the date. But more than that, it is quite choppy. They had a first date. They went to a movie. He tried to kiss her. She slapped him. Boom, boom, boom. It doesn't really flow from one sentence to the next. So we're going to just add single words at a time and see if it can help at least a little. Here we're going to do illogical transitions, meaning these are words that don't really fit. However, Mark had his first date with Catherine. Therefore, they went to dinner and a movie. For example, Mark tried to kiss Catherine. In addition, she slapped him and they drove home in silence. Okay. The comma is misplaced, but that's another talk for another day. At any rate, the words here don't work. I don't have a point on this, but the word however is a comparison word. There's nothing here being compared. So that would not be a good transition word to use. The word therefore is kind of a summarizing word or a conclusion word. I don't mean conclusion like your last paragraph, but what I mean is you're making a conclusion about facts or you're showing results. Kissing Catherine is not an example, and there's nothing to add with in addition. So these are transitions that aren't really going to work. So let's try again. This time we're going to have chronological transitions. Chronological means that they are showing time or sequence. Yesterday, Mark had his first date with Catherine. First, they went to dinner and a movie. Later, Mark tried to kiss Catherine. When she slapped him, they drove home in silence. Oh, a lot better. There are still some details missing, but the timeline at least is more clear. And we can see the sequence of events. It's a little bit less choppy, and it's easier to connect one idea from another. First, they go to dinner. Later, he tries to kiss her. When or after he tried to kiss her, she slapped him, and then they drove home in silence. Right? All of those thoughts are there to make those connections. We're going to return to this paragraph in the next video to add some more detail, but just even with these little signpost words, it has helped. So let's take a look at 2 more paragraphs without any transitions. This is from a biography of Dr. Seuss. Theodore Geisel was born March 2nd, 1904. He left home to attend Dartmouth College. He and his friends were caught drinking in his dorm room. He was kicked off the magazine staff. I'm not going to read every word because it's a little bit longer, but here in the blue, I have highlighted places where we need some transitions. So we jump from him being born to going to college. There needs to be something there. Then we jump to him being caught drinking. Then we have him being kicked off the magazine, which is a result of the drinking, but should have a connection there. Second paragraph, Geisel graduated from Dartmouth. Geisel attended Oxford University in England with plans to eventually become a professor. He met his future wife, Helen Palmer. He dropped out of Oxford, and the couple moved back to the United States. So again, this sentence here about his future wife does not really fit with the rest of the paragraph. And it happened at the same time while he was at Oxford, but we don't have a logical connection. So as a result, this is quite broken up. So we're just going to add some transition words. And again, we're going to return to this next time to smooth it out even further. Theodore Geisel was born March 2nd, 1904. Eventually, Geisel left home to attend Dartmouth College, where he became the editor-in-chief of its humor magazine. However, Geisel and his friends were caught drinking. Therefore, he was kicked off the magazine staff. So we have a couple different types of words. First, with eventually, that's a chronology word. It's showing that time has passed. With however, it's a comparison word. So he was the editor-in-chief of a magazine at Dartmouth. However, comparison, even though he had that responsibility, he and his friends were caught drinking. Therefore, that's a conclusion word, so we're showing the result. Therefore, because he was caught drinking, he was kicked off the magazine staff. Finally, another time word. He graduated from Dartmouth. Also, he met his future wife. Later, he dropped out of Oxford. So with also, that's an addition word. We're adding a point. You can see, I hope, that even with that sentence still doesn't quite fit. So you need more than a signpost. And again, we're going to talk about that next time. But at the very least, we have some chronology words moving us through time. Eventually, he went to Dartmouth. Finally, he graduated. Later, he dropped out of Oxford. Then we have the other words that kind of help connect ideas, however, and therefore make those logical connections. So, things to remember. Transitions clarify relationships, create cohesion, link major sections of the text, convey sequence, that's the coherence, signal shifts in time or setting, show relationships, and build toward a particular tone or outcome. That's particularly if you have an argument. You're showing eventually the outcome. So use transitions to help with both cohesion and coherence. Smooth out your essay. Show readers what direction you're going in. Help them connect ideas, form opinions, while you link paragraphs in your thesis and organize your thoughts. You can use internal transitions. Those are the ones inside a paragraph to connect sentences. You can also use external transitions between paragraphs to move from one idea to another. Next time, we're going to talk about transitional phrases and sentences using more than just one word, and we'll build on the examples that we looked at today. And I will see you then. Thanks so much.